It's Thursday, September 5th, 2013. I'm Jimmy Principe.
I'm Sydney Foster.
And I'm Trey Comstock. Put in your final orders because this is Tech's Last Call, episode 40. Your last call for Tech News of the Week tonight. Jimmy is getting a break with Android. Sydney takes a matchbook to her Kindle. And I celebrate dates between Microsoft and Apple. But we start tonight with something truly unexpected from Microsoft. Just when we thought Microsoft couldn't surprise us again, they bought Nokia, or at least the part of Nokia we all care about. In a deal totaling $7.2 billion, Microsoft acquires Nokia's device and services unit, as well as a 10-year license for key Nokia mobile patents. There will still be a company called Nokia, which will consist of the Here Maps division, the Research and Development division, which includes the patents, and the network infrastructure part of the business that they bought back from Siemens a while ago. And to add flames to the next CEO of Microsoft fires, current Nokia CEO Stephen Elop comes with the deal to become Microsoft's Executive Vice President of Devices and Studios, which is the division that covers such things like phone hardware and Surface and Xbox. Microsoft also gains around 30,000 employees, bringing the ground total to about 130,000, factories in both Finland and China, the rights to use the Lumia and Asha phone brands, and the head-scratching awe of tech press everywhere. Is this the right move for Microsoft?
I'm going to go with Ballmer as a honey badger. I mean, he's insane. This is crazy, but I think that it could really... Well, first off, it's going to kill all those partnerships that they had for Windows Phone.
Yeah, but they really only had two. And
it was Samsung and HTC both kind of made stuff for Windows Phone.
And HTC seemed to be the only one that cared at all. And
Samsung just kind of threw something together and said, "Oh, look, here's a phone.
We have a phone that does everything else. Why not this one too?" And that's the sense I got from Samsung. But no, I mean, the HTC, if that partnership really does die off, that's a loss because the HTC, what is it, the 8X?
The 8X. The 8X was really nice. I really liked the 8X. I really like the 8. That's not even a past tense. I do like the 8X.
Yeah. So, I mean, something like 80% of Windows Phone 8 sales are Nokia phones. Whereas, Samsung and HTC have two phones or one phone. Nokia has a Windows Phone in every category, from high end to $100 off contract.
Well, and they're just they've thrown the kitchen sink at the phone market as far as, okay, here's one that has a massive camera sensor, and here's one that's really cheap, and here's one that they have every single thing in the middle. And
supposedly there's a phablet coming. So I mean, they
or a tablet.
Well, no,
no.
What I seem to be hearing is that could be both a tablet and a phablet. So there'd be a Windows RT tablet and a Windows Phone phablet.
Sorry, the word phablet just makes me cringe.
Hey,
still,
it's in the OEO.
I know it is, but so is selfie. So
yes, and twerking
doesn't mean I have to like it.
Oh, I had to go there.
So, there's been a lot of speculation as to the reasoning behind, why now and why Nokia. And one thing that, really struck a chord with me at least is the threat that the Nokia's exclusivity deal with Windows Phone expired in 2014. And
that's a big reason.
Given their profit margins had not risen high enough, being exclusively a Windows Phone company, they could have gone to Android, obviously quite inexpensively. And I think the risk of that, given that 80% of Windows phones are Nokia, and Nokia is the premier Windows phone maker, the idea of them going to Android could have, and we have no confirmation on this. This is just speculation that's been thrown out by a number of different outlets. The idea of them going to Android could have been a huge impetus for buying them, and buying them now long before that contract expires.
Yeah, and I think that it really meshes with what Microsoft actually says they want to do, which is devices and services.
Sure.
I mean, that's what they bought.
Yeah, and
And-
they literally bought a division called Devices and Services.
Yeah, they actually just
Oh.
bought a devices and services division.
That was really handy.
from Nokia, and Nokia's phones are very good. I mean,
Yes.
Trey, how do you like your Lumia 1020?
I love it. I mean, there are some quirks about it I don't like, but they're very minor. The thing really does make me take more pictures. I like the Windows Phone operating system. Particularly, I like the social integration.
Trey is on Facebook probably
which he wasn't
100% more
Yeah,
than
it
he
was
was.
a thousand
at
times.
least.
Yeah, 1,000 times more than I ever was, and a lot of it is just how the social stuff is surfaced within Windows Phone. That's the stuff that came out of Kin, and that works really well.
Turns out Trey did really want a Kin.
Turns out it's true. I really did want a Kin. I have to revoke calling it the worst device ever.
Well,
because
no. The device was
the
bad.
device
The idea was good.
The Kin spot. Okay. I stand by my previous claims. But I think Windows Phone is a good product. What I'm mad about is another reason why I think Microsoft really needs Nokia is just the lack of interoperability, right? I can't get my iCloud calendar onto my Microsoft device. I shouldn't expect that, but it's 2013, people. I should be able to just have one calendar.
You can't do it on an Android phone either.
Right, but now with the coming support for CardDAV and CalDAV, you'll. Sorry, I'm getting really
I was
technical.
about to say, can you explain what the heck that is?
Basically, what that means is soon, if not already, you'll be able to share Google calendars with the Microsoft operating system.
Yeah.
And there are already workarounds. I mean, I already have my my Outlook calendar in my Google calendar, and in
but-
some cases, vice versa.
But that's through Exchange. That's different.
Right.
If
I
it's
guess
your
that's
corporate
fair. I
account,
am
that's
cheating.
that's through Exchange. So like I could get my Exchange calendar too, but that's not what I'm
Exchange
using.
is awesome.
Yes, it is.
I really like Exchange.
It's $1 billion business for a reason. So, the other thing I threw out in the intro to this is that
The Stephen Elop.
it's Stephen Elop.
Yeah.
And look, there's no guarantee that he's now actually going to be the CEO. Leo Laporte on the Twit network seems absolutely convinced that was one of the negotiating points that Elop had. It was, he took Bill Gates aside, they went on a long walk around Redmond, and he said, hey, look, if you want
He's
this
not
company...
Steve Jobs.
He's not Steve Jobs, and he hasn't done something truly Jobsian. But I was texting with my father right when the news broke, and I was like, this reminds me, not completely, but reminds me a little bit of Apple buying Next back in the day, bringing jobs in, right? When Apple bought Next, what they did was they brought what became OS X in-house. Microsoft buying Nokia brings a phone division in-house. So there are some parallels, and Jobs hadn't been a huge success at Next or Pixar. He had been enough of a success to kind of reclaim his place in the world. But there's a lot of parallels there. Now, history doesn't necessarily actually repeat itself that neatly, but I think it's just something worth looking at.
Well, and Stephen Elop was already, before this was out there, Stephen Elop was talked about as the possible outside of, if Microsoft decides to go outside of, Microsoft to find a new CEO, that Elop would be on the list.
Right, I mean, and
he'd be on the
Elop,
short list.
Elop came from Microsoft, and when he was at Microsoft, he was running their business division, which at that time included Office. So he has kind of a multi-layered view of Microsoft, rather than a lot of the other outsiders that would either have no experience with Microsoft or only know one little piece. He knows both devices and some of their services. Funny how that works. Turns out. Because Microsoft it's a corporation of 130,000 people. There are a ton of moving parts. There are 7 or 8 divisions that are each individually billion-dollar businesses. So, I mean, it takes a very special person to be able to run it. And Microsoft has yet to be run by someone that wasn't essentially there at the beginning. So, bringing in a quasi-insider, quasi-outsider, to me, if I'm the Microsoft board, though apparently they just do crazy things, it makes sense.
Not nexus, that's the wrong word. But it's the perfect combination.
Sure. Well, no, it is a nexus. That actually works.
Google also has Nexi.
That just confuses things.
Something else that's been thrown around about this, and I'm not a financial genius, so I have no idea. The money that Microsoft used to buy Nokia was all overseas accounts. So if they hadn't bought Nokia with the money and decided to bring the money back into the U.S., they would have had to pay like 35% in taxes. So really,
Oh, wow.
Nokia is a giant. They bought Nokia with essentially free money, and this is as I understand it from the Business Week article, is essentially Nokia as a giant tax write-off. So
That's really disturbing.
yeah,
We've got this money. What should we do with it?
It's
Let's just buy Nokia. Why not?
What do we do with this giant pot of money we don't know what to do with?
I
Well,
wish I had that problem.
Yeah,
Well,
let's just buy Nokia. Why not? Sure.
well, they got a pretty good freaking deal for Nokia if you think about it.
Yeah.
$7.2 billion for
They
that
bought
company.
they bought Skype for $8.5
Is that
billion
right?
dollars. Yeah, this is less than
Wow.
what they paid for Skype. It always amazes me when online services companies go for less than hardware companies, because to me,
You mean more? More
go
than
go for more. Excuse me, thank you. Go for more than hardware companies, or are valued more than hardware companies. You know, Zynga is valued greater than Nokia was. That blows my freaking mind. How
Yeah,
does that-
because hardware companies actually make things.
Right, but actually making things, your costs are tied up in such weird ways. You know, for a long time, Microsoft was one of the world's most valuable, or still is one of the world's most valuable companies.
Well, yeah, because it's all Office.
and that's up
Windows
until
and
well, now with Xbox and Surface and Nokia, they now make things, but they
And
didn't use
Nokia.
and Nokia, but they didn't used to make things. I've always understood why Apple's one of the world's most valuable companies, because they make things.
and they make a lot of profit on
They make
their
a lot of
things.
profit on their things. But that's neither here nor there. It's just, it always surprises me. But Microsoft, you blew me away on this one. But hey, Jimmy, do you need a break from all this Microsoft talk?
Yeah, Google, you need to give me a break. So, for months, it's been rumored that your next sweet version of Android would be called Key Lime Pie, the official pie of my home state of Florida. And yet, you decide arbitrarily that not enough people know the taste of Key Lime Pie, which in and of itself is a tragedy, and therefore change the name to that Nestle candy, the famous Kit Kat bar.
Wait, was that the actual reasoning?
That was the actual reasoning. I didn't make that up.
That's ridiculous. And yes, I agree. Depressing. Continue.
Delicious, delicious key lime pie. Anyways, so that's right. Android 4.4, not Android 5.0. Android 4.4 has officially been named Kit Kat, and even comes with handy cross-branding, where on specially marked packages of Kit Kats, you can find a shiny golden ticket. Wait, no, that's not it. You can win a Nexus 7, or even some shiny Hey credits.
Ooh.
It's almost the same.
No.
Go.
I want
Play
the
credit.
I kind of imagine that the Googleplex is just like Willy Wonka anyways.
That is
so this
true.
fits kind of right in with my image. I just want like an all access pass to the Googleplex, and then Larry Page will take me into his office and offer me the company. I've got this all mapped out. There's this great book you can read about it. It's a work of nonfiction. I'm
Involve
told.
Larry Page wearing a top hat.
I just kind of assume he does anyways. And really sweet purple pants, and his little pan flute, like this.
Larry Page is Willy Wonka. So we're the Oompa Loompas in this analogy.
The Code Monkeys. This works perfectly. They've been locked in this thing, and Larry Page essentially makes it so they never want to leave. They have all the food, their laundry's done.
You probably have a chocolate waterfall.
They probably have a chocolate waterfall. 'Cause
I
it's the
don't know.
only real way to mix the chocolate.
We will address the matter of Google and their candy
Okay.
later in the show.
So we're off the rails. Please continue,
We're
Jimmy.
way off the rails. Now, in case you're wondering why they actually picked Kit Kat, apparently, according to Sundar Pichai, Kit Kat was selected because it's the favorite candy of the Android team. I think that's a bunch of bull, but it sounds good.
yeah.
Now, Nestle has approved Google's use of their trademark, though it's, quote, not a money-changing hands kind of deal,
Yeah.
end quote.
Yeah, apparently no one got paid. They just like called up Nestle and was like, "Hey, you want to do this thing?" And Nestle was like, "Sure,
Yeah,
let's
sure,
do
why
this
not?"
thing."
And so, and that was according to the director of Android partnerships, John Lagerling.
Sure.
Lagerling. That's what I'm going to go with. So, Trey, are we excited about Android's newest version and its convenient shareable pieces?
Well, Look, I like Kit Kat bars better than I like key lime pie. So,
Hey, you can go to hell.
look, I'm stoked about this. I think this is great. Some people are saying that this is kind of dirty, that this is Google selling out, or,
They're not making any money off of it, so
Right.
I'm gonna go with no.
I mean, this is going to sound super corporate. But this is one of those like brand synergies. This is just kind of funny, right? So you'll see Google people on Kit Kat bars, and you'll see,
A
Android.
giant Android Kit Kat bar. Like it's so for Kit Kat, it's the Android shape, except with Kit Kat, and it says Kit Kat on it.
So the actual Kit Kat bars are in the shape of an Android.
Some of them might be.
I need this.
There's pictures. If you follow the link in the show notes, there's pictures that show sheets of Androids like in the shape of Kit Kat bars, so they can actually give you a break of that Android Kit Kat.
Dude, I need this in my life. Holy cow!
I also need to find a link to the Kit Kat commercial for anyone that's not intimately familiar with it in the way I am.
Yeah, no, this is great. Also, the one for gingerbread looks kind of stupid.
No, the one for gingerbread looks really stupid.
Looks just like a gingerbread man. No, I
To
think
be fair, gingerbread was not a good operating system.
no. I think this is kind of a silly story. This is a very Google thing to do. What do we do? Because what do we do? I think this was a user who wrote into Tech News Today, Tom Merritt's show over on the Twit Network, mentioning how Kit Kat is like the #1 candy in Japan.
Is that right?
Yeah. So like, and they have like all kinds of weird.
So random.
Yeah, they have all kinds of weird flavors and stuff. And so right now, the
looking
biggest
this up.
smartphone in Japan is the iPhone. And so this could be a really interesting co-branding to raise Android's presence in Japan. Like
That's
I can't
really smart.
I can't verify
Wow.
that, but I think that's just an interesting piece to add to that. And this does give Android kind of a mainstream play, whether it's Japan or the US. Like, you're going to see these Kit Kat bars, and non-techie people are going to go, hey, what's this little green dude on my Kit Kat bar? And, like, it's free product placement for both companies.
And Kit Kat is a very, like, people, if I say, oh yeah, my phone's running Kit Kat,
Yeah.
like, people are going to cue into that and say, oh, Kit Kat, I love Kit Kats. What'd you say?
Right. Like, it's a brand that people like. I
like
guess
Kit Kat's better than jelly beans.
Yeah, no, this is definitely an
That's
upgrade.
true.
Actually, upgrade from Jelly Bean because
Yeah, whereas ice cream sandwich to jelly bean.
that was a
not an
downgrade.
upgrade.
No one likes Jelly Beans.
Except for the every flavor bots.
Yeah, those are okay.
Those ones. the
Those-
Harry
Birdie
Potter-
Bots, every flavor
Not
beans.
Trump
Thank
and ice cream
you.
sandwich.
They still don't Trump and ice cream
but
sandwich.
They help.
So Google may be hooking up with Kit Kat, but Verizon is going through an expensive breakup with Vodafone.
Indeed. Hey, Jimmy, what would you do with $130 billion?
Buy lots of Kit Kat bars.
Good answer,
and
especially
get
if they're
really, really fast.
How many points are in that?
a lot.
do
So
the math.
Jimmy would buy lots of Kit Kat bars, but if he were Verizon, apparently he would buy himself. So Verizon announced Monday that they have reached a deal with British cellular company Vodafone to buy back Vodafone's 45% stake in Verizon Wireless for, as I said, $130 billion in cash and stock. So this buyout ends over a decade of Vodafone involvement in Verizon Wireless. Verizon CEO Lowell McAdams stated that, quote, we believe full ownership will provide increased opportunities in the enterprise and consumer wireline markets. And Vodafone also seemed positive about the buyout, with CEO Vittorio Coleo reminiscing about the productive past relationship between the two companies and wishing Verizon continued success. So it seems like it was mutual. It was, an amicable breakup. They can still be friends.
It was just time.
Right. It just
They had grown apart.
exactly. So who's the winner here? Is it Verizon getting themselves back all together? Is it Vodafone getting a very nice paycheck? Or is this kind of an all of the above, everybody wins situation? What do we think?
I don't know, because I guess Verizon probably wins because they're given more control over their own network rollout and things like that. This is for Verizon, the overall company, not just Verizon Wireless, correct? Because the Verizon includes the whole like FiOS and all that other stuff too.
Yes.
So I'm not.
I don't know how this deal is
Not
structured.
clear on. I think it's just overall Verizon. But anyways,
Yeah, I have to double check that.
oh yeah, okay. It was Verizon purchased.
Verizon Wireless.
Yeah,
correct.
Vodafone's percentage
that's
of
what I thought it was.
Verizon Wireless.
Yes,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
a very
okay.
strange distinction, but yes.
Yeah, a distinction without a difference, realistically. But so I think that it's better for Verizon because they have more control over the company that bears their name in the United States as far as network rollout and customer service, and they can kind of now do whatever they want.
Yeah, and
Because
I think
it's their company.
And I think Vodafone really wins here because now Vodafone has a huge amount of cash for their LTE rollout in Europe. Right now,
Yeah, that's
LTE
true.
in Europe is lagging far behind LTE in the US, which is an odd situation because usually Europe's ahead of us on these things. But so Vodafone now has a ton of cash, and they've been buying up, and they've been really kind of consolidating their holdings into that European and kind of countries surrounding Europe.
Oh, yeah, because they bought like part of an Indian company, and they bought part of like they had pieces of
Yeah, and cable
wireless
companies
companies all over the place.
and they've bought like cable companies in Germany and all kinds of crazy stuff. But in a total side note, if you were to eat 132 billion dollars worth of Kit Kats, they cost about 60 cents a piece, and so that would be 220 billion Kit Kat bars.
You're not assuming it's the king size Kit Kat.
No, I'm assuming it's a normal size.
Okay, okay.
That would be 1.3 trillion Weight Watchers points.
Okay, divided by how many weekly points do I get?
Right.
It's going to
So
involve a lot of exercise.
I'm just saying that that's going to take a while.
Oh man.
So, but back on the point, like they've been consolidating their holdings and they have all of these things, but the U.S. market kind of seemed sidelined to them anyways, and a huge amount of money to be tied up in sideline. Like you
Right, I
don't
don't
see.
think that they were really doing anything with it. Like,
No, I don't know. I know that that meant they could have co-branding when the Grand Prix of the United States happened in Austin. Like that's the extent of it. That was one of the few times I was reminded, hey, Verizon and Vodafone are like the same company. Because my team at that time was Vodafone, McLaren, Mercedes. I was like, why is it Verizon, McLaren, Mercedes? Oh, I remember.
Very clever.
Very clever. But it wasn't even doing Verizon any good in terms of international, right? Because Verizon was is CDMA. And so they weren't getting any like really useful brand nexus or like easy travel abroad because heck, no one does CDMA
right.
except
And I still think it's weird that Verizon and Sprint are both CDMA and never transition to GSM. Now, granted, once we get to LTE voice,
it just
that
doesn't. It won't
distinction
matter.
doesn't matter anymore. But
Then there's
until
still
we get there, it still matters.
Yeah. So I mean, it's weird. It's hard to know. Again, it's kind of the same question with Nokia and Microsoft. It's hard to know why now. What makes now the right time to do this? And I mean, I guess we've heard rumors of this for a while, and so maybe Verizon could finally put the finance together, and they're like, let's do it. Let's just shake free. But
Well, you also have to wonder who initiated it. Like, was it Vodafone said, "Hey, we'd like to divest our shares. Do you want to buy them, or can we sell them on the open market?" And Verizon went, "No, we want to buy them. Don't go selling those to other people."
yeah, we could speculate. It could be either way. All I know is Verizon did not have the cash on hand to do this, and so I think they're taking on some debt there.
That's a big number.
That's just a big number.
Very big number. That's a lot of Nokias.
But something else, something that,
Verizon should have bought Nokia. There we
yeah,
go.
there we go, done. Because that's
solved.
Oh Lord, that's problematic. They don't really carry that many Nokias, anyways. They should have bought Motorola, and then they could have Droid in house. But I really digress. Vodafone can take some of that money and buy physical books because Amazon has just sweetened the deal.
So if you have read the very first article that I ever wrote for Tech's Last Call, you will know that I was a very slow convert to the way of the e-reader. because as much as I love the convenience of my Kindle, I have a very hard time giving up physical books. The feel, the smell, everything about physical books. I think they're beautiful. Well, Amazon has decided to monetize my conundrum. And I love this. So on Tuesday, they announced a new service, which is very cleverly titled Amazon Matchbook.
It's funny because it's like on fire.
And it's going to kindle your love of books. Oh, I'm so clever.
As punny names go, Matchbook is not terrible. So the service will
Still want my
provide.
Kindle Spark.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that. They've got
They
a
should buy
few more
BlackBerry.
months to go. But basically what Matchbook is it gives you the opportunity to purchase a discounted ebook version of any printed book that you have purchased, any physical book that you have purchased from Amazon. So assuming that the publisher of said book has signed on for Matchbook.
Right now, there's only 2 that have.
Yes, this is
Do you
the
know which ones they are?
limiting
Harper
factor.
Collins is one of them.
I will just.
I know I'm right about that. That Harper Collins is one of them. Anyways, continue, please.
Right. So these ebook versions will be available for $2.99 or less. So some of them $2.99, $1.99, 99 cents, or even free. So as if that's not already just cool enough, Amazon's going to be allowing customers to search through your purchase history and get discounted ebook versions of any purchase all the way back to 1995.
So basically, all the way back to the beginning of time.
Exactly.
Wow.
As far as Amazon's concerned.
It is retroactive awesome. But if you give a mouse a cheap ebook, he's going to want a really nice e-reader to enjoy it on. That mouse is in luck because Amazon also this week announced that its next generation Kindle Paperwhite is coming. So the new Paperwhite features, among other things, an upgraded display, a faster processor, and Goodreads integration because, of course, that's recently an Amazon property. So I'm pretty much in book nerd heaven with these announcements. What about you guys?
Hey, Jimmy, you still needlessly buy physical media. How do you feel about this?
So I do needlessly buy physical media, but it's mostly the CDs that I buy from Amazon and get my auto rip on. So
This is essentially auto rip for books.
It's auto rip for books, but I don't get a free ebook when I buy the physical book. I think that would be really awesome.
No, it's not free. It's for most of them. My bet it's gonna be a marginal cost.
They do the Whisper Sync thing too. So like if you have the Audible book, then you can get the Kindle book for cheaper.
Right. And so if I can get the physical book and the Kindle book and the Audible book all for cheaper because I'm gonna buy if I buy all 3, which for textbooks I might actually do. That sounds great. My worry right now is they're saying they're going to launch with 10,000 books, which sounds like a lot, but this is books.
It's not that many books.
It's not that many books. And,
And I looked at their press release. They don't specifically list who the...
okay, I have heard...
I have to do some back research because they just list the authors, some of the authors that will be available.
Okay, I think someone has backed that out to saying it's at least HarperCollins. But also, other publishers... Amazon has said, well, other publishers aren't on board because we didn't tell them about it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that you will get a lot of publishers that are like, oh yeah, this is something I'm interested in, and they're saying like Amazon's saying that it'll be $2.99, $1.99, or 99 cents or free for the Kindle edition. So I think that it's interesting. It is a further Amazon pulling you into their Kindle ecosystem, which makes perfect sense for them.
But I think this is the right way to do that.
Right. Well, because who didn't buy a bunch of books off Amazon when like the only thing they sold was books?
I actually was at that point in my life was still buying everything at physical bookstores because what did we do for fun in the suburbs? We went and hung out in the shadier sections of Barnes & Nobles. And so
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I was, probably in Barnes & Nobles 5 nights a week.
Well, and for me, I feel like, assuming they get the books that I'm interested in, I feel like this, might change because I am a person who does like physical books, particularly, for book club books. I like to have the actual book to discuss. Typically, my rule with physical books is that I buy them at small bookstores because I like to support small bookstores, but I may consider moving towards the evil corporation if the evil corporation is going to give me more for my money. So,
well, and I think this is great for the textbook market. And, me as, I guess, the only one of us who's still a student, I often like to buy my textbooks on Kindle because Kindle is very easy to carry around. I don't carry textbooks to class. If it's available as a digital version, that's great, and if not, I just don't have it in class. Because
right,
the
but
idea
this way you could have a physical copy at home.
Right. Which is also important because it's really hard to cite something from a Kindle, right? Kindle doesn't have page numbers.
Yes,
and
that's
academics
one of the nice things about a Nook.
Right, and academics
Nook
is still
has real page numbers.
right. The Nook has real page numbers. But me being in the Amazon ebook ecosystem, I get to the point where well, how do I cite this? I need to write a paper, and paper still needs page numbers. So
Right.
I like this idea that I could buy the physical copy and get the ebook for cheap. So it's easy, it's portable, and it's citable. This is a great thing for me.
Now, presumably, you won't be able to get a textbook for $3 or less.
Well, I mean, textbook's the wrong word, but I have a lot of
No, I understand what you're saying, but it's the specifically textbooks. I have one here. Like your $200
Right.
physics textbook. It's not going to be one of those.
Yeah, but a lot of my textbooks aren't that at this point in my academic career. I'm doing a lot more smaller books by individual authors, and so I've had 3 or 4 of my books available as ebooks.
it's good for humanities people.
Yeah, it's great for humanities where you're reading smaller things, or English majors. This could be life changing.
Reading.
Hmm?
Does people do that in college?
Yes, occasionally.
I just used a calculator a lot.
I'm
just playing the
I
stereotype.
took math of powered flight for
Look,
my math requirement.
I
That
took-
sounds pretty awesome.
I took
was
game
awesome.
theory and statistics. I used all of the maths and
No,
all of the
yeah.
readings. But I also have all of the degrees, so that's part of the problem. When you've gone as far down the academia hole as I have, you've taken just about
Yeah.
everything.
When 900 years old you are.
When 900 years old you reach, look so good, you will not. But speaking of things that date
No.
back to 1995, BlackBerry is on the fast track to non-existence. In other news of corporate acquisitions this week, it's a
Oh,
theme.
BlackBerry.
Of BlackBerry, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that, according to sources familiar with the matter, which is all the Wall Street Journal seems to do lately, the
they have a
board
lot of people familiar with matters.
the matters.
I'm gonna start calling them PFMs.
Yeah, the board of BlackBerry is trying to speed up the sale of the company and have the deal or deals done by November. They have sought out, according to these sources, they have sought out potential buyers and intend to begin an auction process as soon as possible. The suitors may include the Canadian Pension Board, who's actually a big financial player in Canada, Bain Capital, home of Mitt Romney, and Lenovo, more interestingly. But whatever happens, the expectation is the company will be sold in parts, not
they'll dice
as a
it up.
whole. They'll slice and dice. It's important to remember here that BlackBerry is not just a phone maker. There's the BBM service that we've been talking about a lot. There's also the corporate communication server products, and also their operating system QNX, which is in cars and power plants and jet fighters. Could this let's say this rapid sale does happen. Could this breathe new life into BlackBerry products, if not into BlackBerry as a company?
No.
No?
No, I mean, you're going to take BlackBerry and you're going to dice it up into so many little pieces. So might QNX live on and be just kind of that OS that runs in the background that you don't even know is there? Yes, that's possible.
Yeah.
Might BBM be integrated in a better way so that it's more universal? Might it be? Maybe. Might Lenovo buy their hardware division and make phones? Well, they already make phones.
They already
but,
make phones, but this would just be this would give them access to U.S. carriers in a way that they currently don't have.
Right.
And they've talked about wanting to amp up their U.S. presence.
And I think that, but I think that in a couple of years it'll be very much like Palm is now, where there's very little of Palm left.
Yeah, yes, I think that this is very much of that that is.
And it makes me sad that there's very little of Palm left, and that you'd have to look really hard to find it.
Well, you say that. Have you looked at?
It's an open source WebOS project.
Also, have you looked at the iPhone lately? I was having this conversation with someone that
They
the
don't
iPhone.
have cards.
No, but no. What I mean is the iPhone looks like Palm OS, not Huevos.
Oh no. Yeah, that's a good point.
Palm lives
It's always
on.
kind of looked like Palm OS.
Yeah, it always has. Palm lives on in the iPhone. It's
Yeah,
the best trio I've ever owned. No, I'm trolling now. So yeah, they're going to get divided up. They're going to get sliced and diced, and we're not going to see a whole lot of things that are recognizable as BlackBerry. And obviously, or maybe not obviously, but probably now, Microsoft isn't going to be the buyer. That's always been something that's rumored, but Microsoft now has a phone division. They just bought it for $7.2
devices and services
division of Nokia, something they already have a relationship with.
And I'm going to go with that was a better buy because like Nokia is viable as a company.
Well, Nokia is viable as a company, but BlackBerry's a competitor on the corporate communications front.
That's
so if
true.
you bought
But
BlackBerry's...
Microsoft is already there.
Right, they're already there, so why not kill off a competitor for cheap?
This is like the Coke and Pepsi argument.
Yeah, but no, that's a... But that would turn into a monopoly. This might actually also turn into a monopoly concern. Who knows? I'm not a regulator. Thank God.
But the regulators do love Microsoft. And by that I mean
yes.
they love...
Yes.
Microsoft are you sure that that's okay what you're doing over there? We should take a second look at that.
Microsoft is not a monopoly anymore. They're just not. The bundling of Windows Explorer, but never mind, don't get me started. I thought this has been dumb my whole life. I've always thought this is dumb. But okay. BlackBerry may be in the past, but the future now actually has dates we can believe in. It turns out that companies can occasionally give us dates for things and stop letting us live in speculation and rumor.
What?
I know. Microsoft. I know, they're in every story this week. Microsoft announced this week that they will be unleashing the Xbox One on the world November 22nd, also the same day that the Hunger Games Catching Fire comes out. Very similar. So that's exactly 1 week after the PS4 launch. They also mentioned that the processor of the Xbox One got a bump up to 1.7 gigahertz, and it won't support external USB hard drives at launch, but that is coming at some point. Also, in announcement news, everyone's favorite fruit company gave us a date too.
BlackBerry?
Apple. That's everyone's second favorite fruit company. The largest fruit company in the world, confirmed what we've been talking about for weeks now, that Apple will be holding an event on September 10th with a theme of, quote, "This should brighten everyone's day."
They're coming out with an eye lamp?
Yes, and lots of circles in bright colors. It's pretty safe to say that this refers to the multiple colors that supposedly the iPhone 5C will be coming in. So Microsoft and Apple, which one are y'all more excited about? Perhaps rate it again on a scale of 1 to 5S, how excited you are.
It actually works really well for this story.
Yeah, it worked well for the last time I used that joke.
I'm going to go, because, one of them's the Xbox One.
So it's for a scale of Xbox... Oh, here we go. A scale of Xbox One to 5S.
PS4.
Touche.
Sydney, which one are you excited about, and why?
I am super excited about the Apple announcement because this morning, as I was walking to my car, I dropped my phone in the driveway and now the screen is shattered.
For those of you on the audio vision, Sydney is showing the video, folks, her phone. And if you too want to catch the video version, it's available after the fact on our podcast page, and it's available live 11 on the YouTube's 11. It's available live at TextLessCall/live whenever we post to our Facebook group that will be live.
We'll work on that.
We'll work on that.
So it was kind of a sad start to my day. I've been dropping this phone consistently for 3 years now, though, so I wasn't that surprised.
It's a sad situation.
Yes, it is.
So Sydney will be able to give us an immediate hands-on of the iPhone 5C when I stand in line to make sure that she has one.
At least she won't be on crutches this time.
Actually, we'll be able to put up instant reviews of both of these devices because we'll be buying both of them day one. So expect we'll be doing a live stream starting at about 1 a.m. on November 22nd of some Xbox One games. We're going to do the same thing for the PS4, and I'll be live from the line of the iPhone 5C launch whenever it happens, supposedly September 20-something. So,
Because let's be serious, we don't really care about 5S. It's more 5C.
yeah, I mean, the 5S, I'm not going to say it's the same thing over and over again, right? Because I'm not a crazy person. It is a completely different phone, but it'll be the same form factor and probably the same screen.
But
which
it's just not different in ways that are exciting to most people.
Look, a processor bump, and a fingerprint scanner are cool ideas.
Fingerprint scanner is cool. I'll give you that. That's actually a real.
And a 64, if it's actually a 64-bit processor, I'm really interested in that because it means it's also coming to the iPad, which I'm more in the market for than an iPhone this year.
So
Really?
Sydney, how much do you care about a 64-bit processor?
I don't know what that means.
We explained it last week.
I
point.
wasn't
See,
paying
but
attention.
it basically
See, she was here
zoned
last
out.
week, heard the explanation, and still doesn't care.
It basically means that the phone can handle more complex applications and function more and more like a real computer.
and have better battery life.
And have better battery life.
Having not encountered any problems with my current phone, I don't think I need that.
No, I mean, you don't need that. And probably the iPhone 5C won't have that. So you don't need to worry about it.
And it comes in pretty colors.
But my hope is
theoretically.
that the iPad and the iPad Mini both get this new processor or some version of it, and so that I think those devices are much more in a position to take advantage of 64 bits. But another device that's coming out that I'm highly skeptical of is this week's gadget. So, Jimmy, tell me what happened with Samsung at IFA.
So Samsung, in their typical style, announced things like they do all the damn
Lots
time.
of things.
Oh my gosh, Samsung. Well,
All the
one of the
things.
things that is not one of the gadgets, they did announce a 96-inch Ultra HD OLED TV.
Hey, how much was that?
Lots of money.
Okay, good. We'll buy for the
like-
studio.
Nokia lots of money or Verizon lots of money?
Verizon, lots of money.
Yikes.
Like let me put. I saw that they announced it and said, I don't even want to know how much it's gonna. They probably don't even have a price.
Probably not. So, Jimmy, what did they announce that we're interested in?
What they announced that we're actually dubiously interested in is the much rumored Galaxy Gear smartwatch.
You mean
As
the
well as
rumors were true?
Yeah, the rumors were true, and as well as the Galaxy Note 3, which we suspected that they were going to announce as well, and an update to the Note 10.1. I'm not going to talk about the Note 10.1.
No one cares.
No one cares. Just buy an iPad. First things first, the Galaxy Gear
Surface.
is a wrist-based device capable of, among other things, telling time.
What a novel idea.
I know. We reported on this before, so the key things you need to know is that it has 4 gigs of internal storage, it has a 1.9 megapixel camera integrated into the wrist strap,
Which looks awful.
which, as I noted here, kind of looks like a wart.
Yeah.
It looks really stupid. And at launch, it will only work with the Galaxy Note 3 and the Galaxy Note 10.1, and probably the S4 when they get around to updating it to
What?
Android 4.3.
What? But
As far as cost and availability, the price it'll run $299, or the same as a Wii U. And
I'd rather, I mean, I have a Wii U, but I'd still rather just buy another. Keep going.
and availability, it should be available starting September 25th. Although they're now saying more like beginning of October in the United States. So the other key features, I guess, is it has a small screen. It's a 1.63-inch screen with a 320 by 320 pixel resolution. And it, like all these other smartwatches that have come out, like the Pebble, it has apps that you download to the device.
But they're not Android apps. Let's be clear.
No.
They're a separate app
specific-
environment.
Yeah, they're specific to the device. And in many ways, as Trey noted, upon watching a hands-on of the Galaxy Gear, and many other tech journalists have noted, it looks like Windows Phone.
It really does. Like, it looks
the
like
good parts of Windows Phone. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, the UI looks nice. Yes, the UI is not my issue. But it being a separate apps platform, who's going to write for this thing that's
Well,
so
who
limited?
wants to curate another app store?
Ugh.
I'm so tired of apps. I'm with Sundar Pichai on this one. It's the web.
It's the web. And I get that you need the web to scale down to a 1.6-inch screen, but why do I want the web just... Look, here's my problem with the Galaxy Gear, besides the fact that it's going to look huge on my wrist. I'm a baby hands man, and part of being a baby hands man is having baby wrists. But it's going to look ridiculous on my wrist. I've only ever seen very large, burly men wearing this thing, which makes me think it's just too huge. And the other thing is, it's limited to just these set number of Galaxy phones that very few people are going to buy anyways.
Well, my other gripe is I have a Galaxy S3, okay?
Right.
The Galaxy S3 is one generation old of Samsung's flagship line. And you can argue that the Note is also their flagship line, but realistically, it's the S3, the S4, that's their flagship line. And the fact that they're not supporting the previous generation of the S line, like, that I'm not getting it with my Galaxy S3 is freaking ridiculous.
I mean, that's even
Apple would not screw me that hard. Like,
and this starts just to totally get away from the promise of Android. And look, you know me, like, I'm not a fan of Android. I'm not a big Android supporter, but I get the point. Right? That you have this open source operating system that a lot of people use, and so there's a big pot to pull upon, and they've done some interesting things with it. Like, I don't like the operating system itself, but I get the point. This is not the point. This is Samsung trying to create their own walled garden within Google's thing. And this is a huge theme of Samsung at CES, right? You go around all these Samsung accessories, and they're like, only work with Samsung phones.
Well, and that wasn't only Samsung. LG was the same way.
LG was the same way.
Walk up and we're like, oh, well, we want to stream to the TV. And they were like, oh, we have to have an LG phone. And well, that's dumb. I don't have an LG phone. I'm sorry.
And the only one that seems to get this of the Android makers is Sony. Sony was like, does this work with this? Yeah. Does it work with my iPhone? Of course it does. And we're like, Sony, what happened to you? Y'all make so much more sense.
They still have that stupid microstick format.
That's
the one thing.
But they were the only...
That,
they made a lot... Sony's the only one that has this idea of, like, our accessories should work with everything. Apple can get away with this to a certain extent because obviously the iWatch, if and when it comes out, is only going to work with iPhones. I bet it's going to work with the 5 and the 5S and the 5C, which is more open to more phones than Samsung's thing. But they can get away with it because they're the only people making iPhones. It's really difficult for me to look at an Android product and say, this only works on very specific Samsung Android products, and really take this seriously as something that's going to disrupt the market in any meaningful way.
Because let's be honest, it just connects via Bluetooth 4.0 over an A2DP connection to your phone.
Right.
The other thing is, the other really dumb thing, so it has a speakerphone built into it, so you can do voice control.
Like Dick Tracy.
Right, which is good in theory, but the problem is, in order to activate S-Voice on any of these phones, you have to double-click the home button. Well, if the phone's in your pocket and you have to double-click the home button, what's the point?
Oh, that's so dumb.
They don't have a home button on the watch.
But also, like, this watch, and we've talked about this before, like, again, it's $300, which if you think about it, is just in a nice watch, that isn't crazy. But it has things in there that
Active was $250 when it came out. Like 2 years ago.
Right, and this has crap I don't want. Why do I want a Wart-like camera on my watch?
Like, yeah, it'll record 10 seconds of 720p video.
Why do I want, like, what on earth? I mean, I get, like, oh, we can do it, so why not? You want to know the genius of Apple? The true genius of Apple is they look at all the possible features and they say, what do we think you actually need? Not, what is everything that we can stick in this, but let's focus what this device can be. Sometimes they go too far and, like, limit things too much, but it's truly genius the way they can know what features to add and what features to not add. Samsung's just like, screw it, put everything in there, cram in all the things. They're like a U.S. automaker. If there's a feature that's out there, just stick it in there. A refrigerator in your glove box? Why the hell not? Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, but no, the biggest problem, though, is what's the battery life going to be?
5 minutes. The rumor I've heard is 10 hours.
I'm sorry, when my phone lasts longer than my watch...
Your phone does not last longer than your watch. My phone lasts longer than this watch. Your phone doesn't last longer than anything.
10 hours is utterly useless to me. I mean, it is not uncommon for me to arrive at school at 6:40 in the morning and leave school at 6:40 at night. That's my work day. And so
and
this
the
watch is
reason-
not going to last. I mean, I can't be, charging my watch during work.
And so I've been wearing
Fools.
the Fitbit Flex, and of course I'm not wearing it during the show, really inconveniently. But I've been wearing the Fitbit Flex for just over 2 months, and the best thing about it is that you need to charge it once a week, like clockwork. Once a week, it pops up and says the battery is running low, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I put on the little charger. It takes about an hour. Take it off the charger. It's good to go for another week. I don't want to have to recharge a wrist-based device every single day,
Well, I mean, and this, I think for all three
especially
of us,
one that's not going to last all day.
right? This isn't just this isn't just every night, because I charge, even though neither of my phones really need to be charged every night, I just do, because they're going to be sitting still, and I have chargers right there on my nightstand, so that's fine. Having to charge I don't wear my watch when I'm sleeping, but if a watch doesn't make it through the day, my watch gets the same battery life as a MacBook Air. This is ridiculous. I hope to God Apple does a better job with this, because Samsung, they made something that looked nice. I was worried about that. It looks nice. It's a little big.
It does look. Well, you take the stupid wart thing off, and it does look nice, and they have colors, and it's.
I mean, it's okay. I could actually coordinate with my outfits.
On the whole, it's actually not a bad idea. It's just that they did too much.
No, they wait.
And it's so locked down that they've assured that it will not be that popular.
They both did too much and didn't allow for enough. Right? If this worked on every Android device, I'd be like, heck, I might even switch to Android, because they've got a thing that's great. But nah, they just missed it.
That's Sony.
That
Speaking of Sony, they announced that crazy, or they showed off that crazy thing that you can strap to your phone that has a sensor in it and a zoom lens. It has the same zoom lens that's on the RX 100 too. Anyways, that's a total aside.
it has a real camera sensor, and it will work with both Android and iPhone.
It's $500, and honestly, it's kind of stupid and you shouldn't buy it. But
Well, I don't know. I've actually thought about it.
it's a clever idea. Well, it's bulkier than the RX 100 though. Just buy the RX 100. It's $100 more.
Okay, maybe I'll just do that.
That's the answer.
Something.
But anyways, there's another one. The Note 3.
Oh yay! I cannot contain my excitement.
I'm just going to run through the Note 3 really fast here. There was also the Note 3. It pushing that humongous screen size that Samsung kind of pioneered with the original Note, where people were like, do I really need a 5.3-inch screen on my
Yes.
phone?
No, you don't.
Yes.
You need a
Apparently the answer is
5.7.
yes. Then you needed a 5.55, and now you need a 5.7-inch screen. And it has a full HD display, which I would expect at that size. It's also thinner and lighter than the previous generation. It's lighter by 12 grams. So whatever that means.
It's not nothing.
Whatever. Other key specs are: it has a 13 megapixel camera, 3 gigs of RAM, which is 1 gig more than most of these phones have, a 2.3 gigahertz Snapdragon 800 processor in the United States, and the international unlocked version, of course, will have the ridiculous 1.9 gigahertz Exynos octa-core system on chip,
Octa-core.
which is not available in the United States. Man, at Best Buy. I was so pissed about that. Anyways, and it also has a 3200 milliamp hour battery in order to drive that damn giant screen for hours at a time, and it will ship with Android 4.3. Not like they're announcing a new version of Android. It also has a slight design departure for Samsung. Instead of being plastic on the back like every other phone they've ever made, it has a leather-like finish on the back with kind of like stitching on the sides, and
Like a football.
Yes,
No,
like a
okay.
child's football.
it's like, so those like leather sleeves that they sell for phones. It's like that, except it's just stitched to the back of your phone.
Weird. Okay.
It's that same kind of material. It looks like it's a skeuomorphic design.
Yes. Hey, Jimmy, define skeuomorphism. Go.
It's when you take something that's digital and make it like something in the real world.
Okay, perfect. Good definition.
Skeuomorphic.
So like how iCalendar has like the little thing that looks like leather up at the top, where the iPhone makes typewriter noises, stuff like that. That's
Right, and-
skeuomorphism.
And
Which
how
is a word.
iOS 7 is moving away from that.
skeuomorphic design, because Johnny Ive is over it. Anyways.
So, Trey, is this the note for you? Are you going to get this one?
No! Look at my
Sydney?
hands. Look
Sydney,
at my hands.
Is this the note for you?
No.
You know you want one.
It's too.
It's
In.
purse-sized.
It is purseable, yes. It's
And
not,
you won't have to get your nails, when you've done your nails, you don't have to touch the screen.
Thank goodness.
you can just... yeah, because I assume it has all the gesture crap.
I'm sure it has all of the same stuff that the S4 has.
Look,
I'm just going to continue to shake my head as I have been doing throughout this entire gadget segment.
Look, I don't want to be whatever. The Galaxy Note has been a surprisingly successful category for Samsung, and has shown that for some people, a phablet is truly viable. My uncle, who works for Qualcomm, has a Note or Note 2 and loves it, and was surprised that he did. Everyone that has a Note is like, I was a little skeptical at first, but then I got one and I actually liked it. So I don't want to be too down on this product category.
It should come with a Bluetooth headset.
It should come with a Bluetooth headset. It has a stupid name, but I can understand wanting to have that screen real estate, because so seldom now...
And it has the stylus.
It has the stylus.
The S Pen.
Yeah, the S Pen. And so seldom are people actually holding the phone up to their ear to talk anymore. So much is now done through text-based communication that I get it. I really do. It's easy to laugh at, but it's been surprisingly successful and has been the foundation for an entire new category of gadget with possibly the stupidest name in the world, the phablet.
But when you do see someone on the train or whatever holding a note up to their ear, and usually this is really racist, and I apologize in advance. I saw on the train the other day a very short Asian girl, very thin, probably weighed like 90 pounds soaking wet, with a Note 2. And this
Jeez.
thing was freaking massive. It was
Yeah.
like me holding a Nexus 7 up to my ear.
Or
and talking with it.
those 8-inch tablets that also have phone functionality from, I think it's Acer or Asus.
The phone pad. No, wait. The pad phone.
Pad phone. Phone pad. I don't know.
Phone pad's the one that has the thing that slides. Yeah. Okay.
Who knows?
anyways.
Something else that subverts an entire category, but in a way we're much more interested in, is this week's Geeks Anonymous.
Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan.
Without doubt, the worst episode ever.
I think you should call it your grave.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
So this week in our Geeks Anonymous, we're going to talk about a game. I know, that's really going to surprise you coming from those of us in Text Last Call that love gaming.
Yeah.
But it's not a game like every other game you've ever played, like Madden and Call of Duty and even BioShock Infinite, except that, it has a Metacritic score of 89. The game we're talking about is Gone Home.
It's
And,
available on Mac and PC through Steam.
Yeah, it's a PC only. You can't play it on a console. And it's a relatively short game, but what really makes the game interesting, and I've just started playing it this week, and Trey had to tell me before we started recording, I think you're about to get to the point of no return, so you need to stop.
Yeah.
So we need to record a podcast.
And once you fall down that rabbit hole, you're not going to want to climb out.
Yeah, I'm going to finish it right after we finish recording. But the gist of it is, so you come home, and it's set in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
So before cell phones, before any of those things were very common, you're coming home from a Europe trip that you've been on for, it seems, at least a year and a half.
Yeah, you've been studying abroad in Europe.
And you come home to an empty house. And so the whole game is going through the house, trying to figure out what happened. Like, why the house is empty, why no one's around, like, where is everyone? There's an answering machine, there's,
And there's like a really this is just the
cassettes all over the place.
Yeah.
Like,
This happens in the first 5 minutes, so it's not really a spoiler. Like,
Yeah.
there's like a desperate voicemail on the answering machine, and your sister's left a note about how she's left, and so like it sets
but
up
that you're not supposed to worry, or not
you're not-
supposed to go looking for her.
that you're not supposed to go looking for her. And so it sets up that like something really either terrible or at least traumatic is ongoing, and you have to piece together what's the backstory behind this and where is everybody.
And so it seems like It's been very well reviewed by the gaming press, and it definitely has kind of that ominous feel to it when you're going through and playing it. It's important to know. I'm actually playing it, Trey, because it is a first person.
It's a first-person game.
He can't play it because he'll get physically ill.
And it, like, we joke about it, but it's true. Like, first-person games, for some reason, make me motion sick. So
this one in particular, I actually have to, because I usually have the sensitivity on my mouse up pretty high in general. I had to turn the sensitivity down to the lowest setting on my Logitech mouse so that I could, my Logitech gaming mouse, so that I could actually navigate through without spinning around really fast and getting motion sick.
So, I think one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about this game is it does a lot to subvert the genre. Because there aren't really gameplay mechanics besides some really basic environmental puzzles like find a key to unlock a door or find a combination to open a file cabinet. All you're doing is you're walking around, you're finding ordinary objects from everyday life, and you're hearing the voice of your sister who's left you like journal entries to help drive the story forward. And that's it. There's no shooting, there's no real violence, there's an ominous tone, but, there aren't zombies running around. This isn't about a power fantasy. This is about a digital way of telling a story about everyday life. And this kind of seriousness and artistry, I think, does a lot for the medium of video games.
Well, and it has that, like, it freaks you out in that way. Like, you know how you arrive home late and, no one else is home. You arrive home late, all the lights are off. And, like, what is the first thing you want to do? You're like, I need to turn on some freaking lights. It's kind of freaking me out here. And you also arrive in the middle of a thunderstorm. That's another.
And they do a lot with the sound design, so you hear the thunder, and it all is just put together in a very realistic package.
Like, it feels like you're actually walking through this house. I'm really excited to finish it. I was hesitant to try it to begin with. The other thing that makes this really interesting is I'm also playing The Last of Us right now, which is a zombie third-person game.
But still a more serious zombie game.
It's a very serious zombie game, third-person. Don't you laugh at me.
I'm laughing at the concept of a serious zombie game.
It is. I mean, it does a lot.
The tone of it is very serious.
And it does a lot with like character relationships and such that a lot of games haven't been doing up until very recently. The other thing that Gone Home does is the story it tells hits on very serious themes of love and loss and coming of age. And I've been using it as an example of how games can tell a much greater story than run here, shoot this, feel powerful. It's telling the story that you would normally expect in a novella, or some sort of short story, and yet here it is presented in this really immersive visual medium as well as something that's well written and well voice acted. It really is that kind of whole package, without it's story without the shooting.
And it's amazingly like. You want to go around, you want to read these, and you have to be patient, okay? If you're not a patient person, don't play this game. You're just going to drive yourself up a wall.
Do what I do, and watch and read all the spoilers so that I can be conversant on this and not vomit.
Right.
So
I'm
should
trying
I
to
play
finish
it?
The game.
You should play it, but only in daylight. Because while...
Yeah, it's really because I've only played it at night.
While it's not actually a survival horror game, it sets up some ominous themes, and I'm not going to spoil here what they do with them, but they set up this really ominous setting. And so I would just, if you scare easy, just play it during the day with the lights on, and you'll be fine. Because it's a short game, you can finish it in a Saturday afternoon.
We discovered that the completionist on
howtobeat.com, howlongtobeat.com
how long to beat is 4 hours.
It's like 4 hours, and so most people are breezing through it like 2.5.
By comparison, Assassin's Creed is like 26.
Right, and look, one of the complaints I've heard about Gone Home is while it is short, so you don't feel like it's dragging on quite as much, it's still $20 for only 2-3 hours. So just weigh that. But
that is fair.
But honestly, From what I understand of it and what I've seen of it and what I've read about it and the depth that it goes to, this is, another one of those indie games that is a serious competitor for Game of the Year, spending a tenth, a hundredth of what a game like Assassin's Creed will spend, and yet
or BioShock Infinite,
or BioShock
which is one of
Infinite.
the other big contenders,
or The Last of Us, another
Yeah.
one of big contenders for Game of the Year, and here's this small game doing so much by being willing to leave some things out. A lot of people talked about, I would love BioShock if it didn't have the shooting, right? But the shooting mechanic in BioShock isn't all that great. It's
that's true.
It's an okay shooter, but it's a really cool story. And so this is like what people wished BioShock would do. A really cool story without worrying about a really just like a pasted on mechanic because you think you need one. This is totally just environmental storytelling, and
BioShock's shooter mechanic is usable.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I like it a lot better with a controller than with a keyboard.
Sure, that's fair. So if you haven't played Gone Home, and you are all inclined towards video games, play it.
It's an interesting game, at the very least. I have not finished it. I will finish it, and then read all the spoilery things. But
yeah, but absolutely, if you're a fan of great literature, if you're a fan of great movies, play it. It's no longer than a novella, about the same length as Lord of the Rings. So play Gone Home. It is definitely worth playing. And for something completely different is this week's Last Call.
So Google has a reputation for creating work environments that boost employee morale and productivity. Now, of course, as we would expect from the search giant, every HR detail and choice is data-driven. Now, most recently, Google's data analysts, I know I said data in one sentence and data in the next, just roll with me. Most recently, Google's data analysts set their sights on a threat to employee health and fitness. That nefarious little candy, no, not the Kit Kat, the M&M.
that must be from the search division, not the Android division.
Indeed. So yes, Google's Project M&M, I kid you not, that's what it's called. Project M&M was carried out in order to reduce employee consumption of the bite-sized chocolates. So after gathering significant data, the final solution to cut down employee M&M consumption involved, first of all, increasing the distance that employees had to travel to get to the M&Ms, and then also putting the M&Ms into opaque containers rather than clear glass containers. I don't know who comes up with this, but apparently
Google, they only changed it for 20% of people. That way they could see how the response would change.
They did A/B testing.
They did
I believe
A/B
it.
testing.
I believe it.
That's what they do with their homepage.
So, yes, amusing as it may seem, using these strategies, the analysts calculated that they were actually able to reduce M&M consumption at Google's New York offices by 3.1 million calories worth of M&Ms over the course of 7 weeks.
Wow.
People are in their New York office.
About 2,000, I believe.
Still, that's a
Lord.
lot of calories.
So, yeah. With this battle against the evil candy one, what will Google tackle next?
Maybe productivity among their data analysts. Just a thought. I hope this is a 10% project, because that's hilarious.
Yeah, and I wasn't entirely clear on whether that was an outside company that they brought in
No,
to
I
do
think-
this,
No,
because
this
that
was
would be
just
really
Google.
special.
This is just
But
Google.
this is just, well, then they also apparently they had a similar project to try to increase employee consumption of bottled water, where they moved the water down to eye level and put it behind frosted glass to make it more appealing.
I love Google. I really do. Back to the Willy Wonka joke from a while back in the show. It really is, the modern day, Wonka, because their work environment is is totally enviable. But that brings us to the end of an extremely long Text Last Call. Thank you very much for bearing with us. It's been a heck of a news week. If you have any feedback or comments or segments you'd like to see in the show, games you'd like to see us talk about, please email us.
Or play. We can play games for you.
Yeah, we can play games for you.
We will make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's hard, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah. Email us at podcast@textlastcall.com. Pinterest.com/textlastcall, Facebook.com/textlastcall, or at textlastcall on the Twitters. However you find us, we'll be seeing you on the interwebs.